Now I'm ready to set up my lights. In my Arnold render settings window, I'm going to do one last thing, and that is turn my AAs back down to the preview setting. Now with Arnold, what I'm getting is direct and indirect illumination from a single light, which is really lovely, and this does give me very nice lighting even just with this single area light here. But in general, I want to have a few lights so that I can start blocking out some colors and really getting a sense of depth in my space. Lights in Arnold and in all 3D programs are additive, and what I like to do as my first example is just take one light, like this one, and duplicate it 2 times. So here's my light, Control D to duplicate. There's my second light, and you can see that the scene brightens, but that's not really what I want to do. I'm going to move this light over to the other side and rotate it so that they are pointing into a similar location. And let's make one more copy of these lights. I might pause this render just because I am asking my computer to do kind of a lot here. So I'm going to duplicate this light one more time, Control D. And again, I will move this over here and rotate it so that it is pointing inwards and I have some overlap between the lights. Now I will restart the render, and I've got this massive circle of light here. So the lights are clearly adding together, but here's what I want you to see. If I take these lights and change their colors, I will take this one and click on the color swatch here. That pulls up the Maya color picker. I'm going to turn its saturation all the way up, and now I've got a red light. This next one, I will select, click on the color swatch, and again I'll turn its saturation all the way up. I don't want this one to be red too. I'm going to come in and make it blue. Let's get a nice true blue. I could also use this swatch up here. The third one, I'm going to make my third primary color, which is of course green. I'll just use that green there. And now that I've got these 3 primary colors, what I can see is not just that I get these 3 shadows, but I can also see all of the interactions between the lights. As they add together, the more precise they are, this center dot here should be pure white. Let's zoom in on the sphere. And now you can see that right there up in the center, all the lights come together and make white. The areas outside them blend together to become the primary and secondary colors. So in this sense, lights are really going to allow me to generate color and fill a space with shape. Now I like using the primaries just so that you can see the way that lights start to paint, and hopefully to give you some ideas when you start making your own lights. If I move them all a little closer together, they'll probably blend a little more tightly too. This isn't necessarily something that I would do as a finished lighting scheme, but it can be fun to just come in and play around. What I'm going to do next is set up something that might be a more realistic lighting scheme for me. So again, I'm going to pause my render view, and then I'll take this light, and let's call this light my backlight, and this will become the back of the scene. Maybe this one will become my fill light, and this will fill the scene with illumination. And this last one here, this will be my key light, and this will cast all of my really serious shadows. Now in this scene, the ball is bouncing. It comes all the way up to here, so I might want to start with my lights a little bit further up so that they hit the ball all the way up here. And because this one is the fill, I'll move it up even higher and probably rotate it down a little bit so that it's just casting down on the scene. That looks pretty good. The backlight and the key light, I'll just take and move back a little bit. I usually like to have my backlight go to a slightly lower angle, so I might take that and move it back over here. So already just by doing that, I've made some pretty serious changes to my lighting scheme. When I hit the play button again, you'll see that I get almost a completely different color. Now the key light is my green light. That's the one that's coming in here. And this really intense green color is probably a little bit too intense, so I might take the saturation and pull that down a touch. A little bit of saturation goes a long way. I like to have my key light and my fill light take on contrasting colors. So if I'm going to keep my key light in the green range, then I want my fill light to be maybe somewhere in the oranges, and again, probably a little bit more subtle. In this case, I think I'm getting too much effect out of it because it is casting a pretty strong shadow, so I'd probably want to turn the exposure down a little bit so that I get more shadow casting out of the key, and I might take the key and turn that up even a little bit higher. That is probably a little bit too bright. That might be better. The backlight is still this really intense blue, and the backlight I might keep somewhere in the same range as the fill light. I don't like to use the same color for every single light, so I might make this one a little more red and perhaps a little less saturated. I'm seeing this intense line from it, and I don't like seeing those lines, so I'm going to move it back further. And I might angle it up just a little bit. Oh, my poor computer. And by angling it up, I will cast it, hopefully more intentionally, towards the sphere. I don't need a lot out of the backlight, just a little bit. And of course at this point I don't really have a camera angle set up. But with these three lights, just as they are, when I do come in and find the ideal camera angle for this project, which is probably honestly somewhere around here, well, let's go here so that we can see the fill light. That's frame 1, the ball is in the shot, bounces down to there. That's probably a pretty good camera angle for me. When I go back and render, my goal is to not really notice any of the lights, that the lights themselves be really subtle, and that what I get out of this is just a general sense that there is something more to the space. I also don't like how I'm seeing this back corner of my plane, so I'm going to take the plane and stretch it out a little bit so all I get is a line. Maybe I'll rotate my camera so that line is a little bit straighter. And now as I go through, I will get a nicely lit ball that casts a really beautiful shadow and bounces on the ground. I could play with my colors a little bit more. I might want just a touch more orange in that fill light. I think that's looking a little bit weak. But this is a good general exercise for you in just setting up a little bit of lighting so that you can start coming in and getting really creative with the things that you do. So I hope that that was interesting for you. Go ahead, play around with the lights a little bit and see what you like.